I always write stuff I can't play yet, and then I teach it to myself, and that's how I end up practicing.
Would you like to introduce yourself a little bit for Donner fans and our fans in China?
Hi everyone, my name is Yvette Young and my Chinese name is Youngshen. I just want to say that overall this trip is really special to me because it's the first time I'm performing in China. Both my parents are from Beijing, and even though I was born in California, I always feel culturally Chinese, so it's just really special for me to come over and experience that culture.
You know, Donner is a Chinese brand. How do you get to know about Donner before you come here?
Honestly, a lot of the products I was using were Donner ones. Like, I think I have a keyboard stand and a couple of hardware pieces from Donner. And yeah, I didn't really know the extent of how many products Donner makes, but they sent me the triple threat pedal, and it was awesome. So that's kind of how I became a little more acquainted with the company itself. Well, I knew for the song I wanted to play, I really wanted modulation, in particular chorus. I wanted a delay, and I wanted some kind of like overdriven, gainy lead tone. So that's why I ended up choosing these pedals. I think out of all of them, the Dumble Drive was really awesome. It just really warms up your tone. I already played the triple threat, and it's just cool to be able to have 3 effects in one. I think for anyone who wants to experiment with combining tones instead of, you know, having to buy 2 pedals, to have a bunch of effects in one place can lead to a lot of creativity. So I think it's really cool to have echo, phaser, and distortion in one place. In terms of the hush, it was really amazing hearing the IR. I think I was really blown away by the impulse response portion of it, because, you know, to be able to simulate just the body shapes of different guitars and different spatial things is really special. And for, you know, the price point of that guitar, I feel like it's cool to be able to have so many different tones in one place and to travel with it. I think the design is really clever to be able to, like, you know, put the body shape on and take it off. And yeah, it's just a really cool instrument. The main effects I was using on the Hush was just a bit of delay. My first acoustic guitar was a Martin OMC 1E. It's funny, I was actually in the hospital during that time, and I wasn't allowed to go to school because they were like, you have to stay here. So I was like, I want to play guitar. So my parents got me that Martin as a way for me to do something while I was sick, and that's how I taught myself guitar. Was I just started writing songs. First I learned a bunch of like Radiohead on fingerstyle stuff on that guitar, but then I started writing my own lyrics and melodies, and I basically taught myself guitar on that acoustic. Yeah, I think it's really useful. I would say because I'm primarily, you know, I consider myself a songwriter more than a player. I'm always looking for new colors and textures to add to my melodies, and the way I kind of view a song is the melody is like the black and white drawing part, and then the effects you use are like the colors that you choose to put on your drawing to help it come to life. So to have something where you can write a melody and you already have a palette of colors that you can use to color it in, I just think it's a world of creativity for a lot of people looking to write their own music. Yeah, for me, I started out as a painter, as an art teacher before I even went for music as my career. So I always think about music visually, and for me, when I hear a tone, it's like a specific color and a specific mood, and it really does inspire me a lot. Like sometimes I find that when I play without effects, I play one way, but let's say I put on something like fuzz or I put on something like distortion, it makes me play differently. It makes me leave more space, like, especially with delay and stuff. Like when I'm playing dry, I want to fill up all the space, but when you have something like an echo or a delay or a reverb, you really want to hear that beautiful space. So it forces you to slow down and take a break and like not fill in all the space. Fuzz and distortion makes me write in minor keys for some reason. I just think it sounds cool. I love minor seconds with fuzz and distortion. So yeah, it kind of just influences how I play too. You know, I think every artist ends up evolving over time just because naturally you're drawn to new things, and I think every artist should want to always move forward and grow, not just stay in the same place forever. I think initially I played a lot more technically complicated, intricate things because that's just what I was interested in at the time, and my tone was mostly clean. But these days I feel like I'm always going to be in love with chorus. Like, I love music from the 80s. I think it was a beautiful time for songwriting and melodies and textures. So I think I always love having a chorus on. In terms of tone, currently my setup is P90s. I just love how fat they are. It sounds really full and just even-bodied. And I just like how chunky it sounds with distortion too.
Glitchy as well.
What was that?
Glitchy.
Yeah. It's just it to me holds a lot of weight. It has a definition still, which is important. I play fingerstyle, so I need a lot of my tone to be very dynamic. So yeah, I think in terms of finding your own tone, I don't think, you know, you can spend all the time on the internet reading about how to get the best tone, but honestly, if something sounds good to your ear, then I think that's your tone. And that's how I go about finding things, is I just like listen and I experiment and I twist knobs until I think it sounds perfect. You know, what's really funny is I feel like, I mean, I'm just gonna admit this, practicing is my least favorite thing in the whole world. I'm much more interested in writing music. So I think I actually, because I'm sitting there recording my ideas, I actually end up practicing a lot when I'm writing at the same time because I wanna get the riff right and I can't play it yet, so I end up just playing the same thing for 5-6 hours until I can play it smooth. What I do a lot of times is I record the ideal version of what I want to play and I comp it, and then I listen to it back and then I teach myself the comped version. So then it's like I'm playing it the way that I naturally couldn't play it, but I'm forcing myself to get better at it. So yeah, I think I just end up like I always write stuff I can't play yet and then I teach it to myself, and that's how I end up practicing. Oh yeah, I feel like before, maybe because my first instrument was piano, I felt more comfortable doing like percussive tapping on guitar, but nowadays I feel like it's more integrated. Like I'll use my nail if I want to get the attack of like, you know, a pick, like tremolo picking. I'll use tapping if I feel like it needs it, but I don't really want to just tap for the sake of like tapping on guitar. I think it has to have like a purpose, you know, be it textural or economic. I have to tune it to a different tuning. If I were to advise on how to get good technique tapping, you want to use your natural, the weight of your hand to your advantage for momentum. I'm not really like actually playing the string that hard with my finger. Like it's actually just my hand following it. Like it's not like, it's more like, you know, kind of thing. And then I'm like lifting up gently. I do a lot of like combined finger picking and tapping because I think it sounds really fluid. And my advice for if you're finger picking and tapping is, I know you're used to like picking down here, but you want to get used to picking here so that you don't have to like move back and forth to tap. So. Another thing is, when you do that, there's like an overtone that sometimes rings out, so you want to kind of mute that by lightly putting your finger over it. So. Notice how I'm doing all my picking up down here. So to get that all fluid, I would just probably divide it into chunks. That's how I practice large tapping sections, is I don't just do it all at once. I'd probably divide it into. And then. And then. And then. And then. And then. And then. So yeah, I would divide that all up into little bits and then practice transitioning from each section, and that would probably take me 6 hours.
That's impressive. That's impressive.
Thanks. Yeah, I feel like, you know, I wouldn't say that like everything I do revolves around tapping, but it is like a large part of how I get my sound. I didn't start tapping because I was like, oh, I want to do it. It was more like, oh, how do I like reach this note? Because I write a lot of my melodies by singing it first, and then I teach myself how to play it on the fretboard. So, and I like doing it that way because then I'm writing a melody that is memorable and wants to be written instead of letting just what my hands already know how to do dictate what I write. So a lot of the reason why I was tapping was like, oh, that's how I get that like sound to happen, you know, or that's how I slide up here while I'm doing the stuff down here. So a lot of it was more so out of necessity, but it means a lot that you called it storytelling, because that's what music feels like to me. Is it feels like I'm trying to convince you of an emotion or a place or a character or feeling. And I think to me, I feel the most successful when someone says, oh, that song made me feel like this, or it reminded me of this character. And I'm like, hey, that's exactly what I was going for. So that's so cool. And tapping is just a large part of how I keep everything really fluid. I just started playing this one today, so the scale size is a lot smaller, but I feel like if I had a couple of hours on it, I could get really comfortable.
Okay, it's because it's pretty lightweight. Maybe you will take a little bit more time to get used to it. Yeah, it feels like, you know, compact and small. But you know, the action feels great, and it didn't feel like a challenge to do anything. So. I love, you know, I know people make fun of bends, but I think bending is really useful. Okay. Yeah, bending can be great for just getting a little more like attitude out of stuff. You know, the way I view technique is like, I didn't get into guitar being like, I want to learn like how to shred, you know. It's more like technique is, if I use, again, like the artist analogy, it's like having a lot of different brushes and tools to use. It's your toolkit. And I think every player should want to get as many tools as they can. So a lot of the techniques that I use, I ended up learning because I was like, oh, I want this sound. Like, you know, I don't use a pick, but I can do kind of like a palm muted pick with my hand, where I kind of rest my palm on the strings and then I use my nails to do the pick. So I kind of combine that a lot with finger picking. So it's like just a bunch of different textures. I like that as well. Slides are cool. I just like everything, you know. Mm-hmm. But you did use a pick, like a few days before, right? Oh yeah, I played Bonnaroo with a pick. I had to learn Jimmy Eat World, the solo from that song, and that song requires a pick, so I used a pick. So it depends on what kind of what exact song you're playing. Yeah, I think I'll learn anything as long as it's like what the song needs, you know. Okay, but you're not going to use a pick in your own music? Probably not. That's cool. You know, I think my number one enemy when I play is thinking. So I think for me to have a good set, I have to feel. the whole time. So I can't be thinking about my technique. I can't be thinking about, oh, I need to get this next part right. I think as soon as I think, I mess up and I ruin everything. So there's something called flow state that a lot of people enter. When I'm playing a song, I'm really just trying to feel the emotions that the song is meant to convey. And then once I have that in my heart, I focus on that, and then I don't think about what my hands are doing, and that's how I have the best set. But sometimes if you play a set for a long time, you start thinking about stupid things like, what am I gonna eat after? Or like, you know, like, oh no, I forgot to turn off the oven or something like that. And I feel like those moments, you know, I can mess up. But most of the time I'm not thinking, I'm just feeling. Yes, it is so different. I think because I come from a classical background, I think we were talking about earlier, I had the roughest time playing live because I'm such a perfectionist. Like in the classical world, it's all about your delivery and your execution, and it has to be pristine and perfect, and everyone's judging you for it. So for me, when I first played live, you never have a perfect time because, you know, you're playing in a venue where you're trusting a sound person who might not know how you want to sound, and then there's tech issues, the PA doesn't work, the monitor sounds crappy, so you're just always gonna have something go wrong. And I initially would be really upset after every show and be really hard on myself because I'm like, it doesn't sound like the way that I wrote it. It doesn't sound perfect. But then I started really enjoying music when I realized that part of what rock and roll is about is energy. And part of the reason why people come to a live show isn't to hear the perfect version, it's to experience the energy of the song. So as long as I'm conveying that energy to the audience and I'm having a good time on stage, even if I'm messing up, I'm like smiling and I'm dancing and I'm feeling the music, I feel like that translates and that helps people have the best show. Yeah, and you know, sometimes if stuff goes wrong, it makes for a really funny story, and then people can go tell that story. I think, like, you know, obviously a lot of my influences in my band come from probably Midwest emo and post-rock, because that's what I grew up listening to. So obviously a lot of American football, but then I got really into, you know, bands like Caspian, This Will Destroy You, what else? Yeah, just like a ton of like Basement. So I kind of, the reason why I named the band Covet was that word means to like want something a lot. And I think I wanted to, well, it's a Basement reference also. But I also I feel like music is one of those things that when I hear it, it fills my heart with like a yearning. Like I want to hear certain sounds. And I kind of wanted to start a band that was inspired by all the sounds and genres that make me feel something. So yeah, the music is kind of just an amalgamation, a combination of all the music that I love and I listen to expressed into like one song. I just, like I said, there's a, you know, that Basement song, and then I also just really like that word. It just means to really want something, you know? Oh man, recently I've been listening to a lot of stuff that doesn't sound like me at all. I feel like I'm really inspired by like the electronic kind of pop world now. So one producer that I really like is Yves Tumor. Very, very interesting production and really good songwriting, really great tones. What else? I've been really enjoying kind of like 80s throwback stuff, like bands like Brother Tiger or Drab Majesty, or what else? Ice Choir. That's a really, like, I think 80s music is just so, it's pretty experimental, and I love like the synth sounds, like like Yamaha DX7. I love like just the sounds of retro synths a lot. So I've been with
synthesizers.
Synthesizers, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I love that. So Brother Tiger uses a lot of really cool retro sounds.
Same with Ice Choir. And then what else? I've been listening to like a lot of hyper pop stuff, like Brackens is cool. I like how it takes kind of Midwest guitar and puts it in like almost like a trap pop context. Love that. I always love John Hopkins. I feel like that kind of like dance music is like really inspiring to me. Anything with like a driving beat. Yeah, that's just kind of what I've been listening to lately. Oh, I use synths in my writing. The last solo record, or I just released 2 solo songs, and a lot of it is like DX7 sounds or like Juno. I double a lot of my guitar parts with synth too. Okay. One of my new favorite things in production is taking like a really crappy toy keyboard that you get at a dollar store and like finding that one ugly sound and then putting it in the song. Like I just love like ugly sounds. It's really fun. I never compose or write music during tour because I'm like so stressed and tired, but what I feel it does for me is it makes it so that I really, really, really miss making things. Like, you know, if I were to classify myself as a composer, a writer, or a performer, I would think I'm more of a writer, a composer. Like, if I don't perform, I'm fine. I don't care. But if I don't compose or write, I hate myself. So it's like I need to do it or else I feel crazy. So after a tour, I feel so congested. I'm like, I feel useless right now. I feel like I need to go home, and I want to like take all the experiences and the memories that I made on this tour and like put it into music. So I have all these ideas that just are waiting to come out when I go home. Yeah, a lot of times, you know, how I end up writing is I'll be like in traffic or something, and I'll have a melody, and then I'll have my voice memo and I'll sing it. So I think a lot of moments like that can happen for me, and I go home and I just have time to develop it more. Yeah, I'm working on a solo set right now. It's probably not going to be like mostly rock. Like I would say it's probably more indie pop. So I've come at a point in my career where I like so much different music. I want a chance to write that kind of music and to kind of expand my sound to a different demographic. So yeah, 100% I'd love to come solo. Wow. I'd love to work with the Midnight. I think we planned some stuff together. It's like 80s, like retro pop kind of stuff. I've been kind of hoping that we're both really busy, and she's obviously like so busy, but I'd love to do more stuff with Willow because you know, we've been kind of talking about working together on some music. I have been doing a lot of stuff for games and film lately. I kind of really like that world because it feels like I'm not representing it. It's like it's for the movie, but then I can still put my voice on the movie. So I've been collaborating with some film composers and things, and I like that a lot.
Film composers, film scoring.
Yeah,
something like that.
I love that. One day, like, you know, when I'm older, I'd love to just get more into that world because it's a lot of fun for me. First of all, I want to say I think you guys do a great job of making gear that targets that demographic because what I like about it is, you know, it's not pretentious. It's not like a price point that a lot of people can't afford. And then having things like the multi-effect things allows people to try out a certain sound without investing like $500 into like, you know, buying like a really nice, I don't know, like reverb or something, you know, like I think it's a really great chance for people to play with a lot of colors. If I were to give advice to a beginner, I would say don't pigeonhole yourself into like a specific sound, and don't try to copy someone else because you're never going to be someone else. I think you have a better chance of achieving your dreams if you just, I know this sounds cheesy, but if you just really be yourself and follow what interests you, and learn a bunch of different styles of music. Don't just stick to rock, learn flamenco, learn classical, learn as much as you can, because then you can take the things that you love about all those styles and then integrate it into your own unique sound. I think that's kind of what happened with me. Was I didn't want to just stick to one thing. I was like, I love all this different type of music, and I started Covet because I was like, I want to combine all the things I love about all these genres, metal, prog, post-rock, Midwest emo, classical, and I just want to fuse it all into my own sound. So, I think it's more fun that way. Like, nothing is beneath you, right? Like, I think I can learn from a beginner, just like a beginner can learn from an expert. A lot of my life I spent around children, and I taught them art, and it's funny how much teaching kids do with you. At the end of the day, you're not the only teacher. So I think, play with as many different people too. Jamming is not my favorite thing to do, but I definitely have learned a lot writing solos for people that I don't normally play for, like different genres. And I think challenges are a good thing. Like, if you're uncomfortable, it means you're doing something right, because it means you're growing.
Thank you. This, I think, so good. I mean, that your opinion, your advice is so good. Yeah, we wish you to see you back here too. And good show to tomorrow night.
Oh,
in Shanghai,
thank you.
Beijing. Yeah.
I appreciate it. I'm excited.